at homework 5 and talk through what I'm asking you to do in CS 151. Alright, so I'm in one of the accounts now. I can check out each 5. I have these files. I'll go in there. Okay, so complete the tasks in the files, fill in the answers in answers.txt. Alright, let's take a look at what's there then. And we should look at answers.txt first. And it has factorial, cards, NumberFun, and birthdays. Maybe that's a good order to do them in, but they're all 4 different. So, yeah. You could do them in whatever order you want. One thing that you want to note is that all of those programs, you'll benefit by looking at the videos, looking at the sample code from chapters 3 and chapter 4. So there's the chapter 3 working on functions, chapter 4 using lists, and the videos to go with those, which you can just look at the playlist that has all the videos and go to whichever ones, or there's the list like this as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at Factorial. Okay, so there's things that are marked to do for you to complete, and you have to read it and do it. And if you do all the to-dos, then you can run the program and it'll do something meaningful or interesting. Okay, so for this one, we have a factorial function. What it's supposed to do is compute the factorial, which we've looked at before. So, for example, 4 factorial is 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. That's just the definition of factorial. And what I want is I want to return that value, but really what I want to do is return n factorial. But that's not something you can just do in Python. You have to write the code to do it. So multiply together. This is going to be a loop to multiply together those values. Alright. If I just say 24, then I can run it and see. Each of these functions has a little test that you can run. Okay, so for this one, I can print these values, and what I should get is 1, 2, 3 factorial should be 6. It's 3 times 2. This one should give 24. So I can do that and then run it. And these are these values right here. And I'm always returning 24. That's why it's giving the wrong answer. Okay, so check the comments and do what it says to do. This one here, this is just exactly the formula that you need. You could copy and paste this in there, and if your factorial function works, it should give the right values. Okay, so that's factorial. And let's look at, next is cards. So the cards is saying first you need to go to this file and copy and paste that complete code. Okay, so these are functions that we developed for playing cards, making a deck of cards and shuffling the cards. So if I just run the program like this, it'll do what we did in class, which creating some cards, dealing out 5 cards for 2 different players, and printing them. So what you're supposed to do is have some code to check, given some cards, is it a flush? So a flush is all the same suit. Okay, so for example, 7 of hearts, 8 of hearts, 10 of hearts, ace of hearts, jack of hearts. Alright, that's a flush. All of them are hearts for playing cards. And in the program, what we did here, the suit was coming from, each card has some number. We're numbering the cards 0 up to 51. There's 52 cards in a playing card deck, so I numbered them 0 to 51, and so 0 is ace of hearts, 1 is ace of diamonds, 2 is ace of spades, 3 is ace of clubs, 4 is 2 of hearts. So the number for the card, the remainder mod 4 says what the suit is. So in your flush, checking to see if we're flush, there's a suggestion here for how to do that. I want to go through the cards and I want to look at each one. So for that particular card, if I look at mod 4, that's the suit, is that the same as the suit of the one before it? Alright, so there's going to be a loop to check that, and if you ever find that there's a mismatch, it's not a flush. Okay, same kind of thing here for determining if there's two of a kind, a pair. Okay, and I've given you a couple examples. So according to this comment here, these are two hands that are flushes. These are two hands that are not. So you should see 2 trues and 2 falses. This one here says these are false. That's not 2 pair. And these are 2 pair. Okay, so that's the cards program, and you probably want to watch the video about chapter 4 where we did the cards. All right. And so for the factorial, you're finishing the factorial and the binomial, and you're printing out the factorial numbers and the binomial numbers. You copy paste that into your answers file so I can check to see your answers. And for the cards, really I just want the flush and pair functions. So that's what I'm really looking for, that you get those functions correct. But I'm just going to look at the code here in this file. Okay. NumberFun. So let's take a look at NumberFun. Alright, the goal of this is to figure out all the prime numbers up to 200. So what I have here is I have a variable is prime. I have 200, and what I've done is I've created a list of trues, and if you multiply a list, then this is going to be a list of 201 items, all true. So fine. And then what I'm putting in is a false and a 1 for is prime 0 and is prime 1, and what the goal is that is prime k is true for k prime and false for k not prime. That's the goal. So in particular, is prime 13 in the end, I want that to be true, but I want is prime 12 to be false. And I want to do that for all of them. Okay, and there's ways to do that. This is one way that I'm guiding you through. So there's the to do right there. That's for you to do. So what I want you to do with this is P is going to be our variable that has all the trues and falses. So I want to go through all the multiples of K. So I want to go is P 2 times K, is P 3 times K, and so on, up to K, up to the length. Each of those should be false. So this is going to be false. This one is going to be false because those are not prime, right? 2 times something else is not prime unless K is 1. All right, so this is supposed to go through and set to false all the multiples of K. And this would be, if you do a loop where this is what you're going over, that will be all the multiples of K that you want to cross out. All right, this here you don't need to touch. What this is going to do, it's going to cross out all the multiples of 2, of 3, of 5, of 7, and so on. That's what this loop is going to do. You probably want to understand what it's doing eventually, but just to get things going, you don't need it. Okay, then I want you to print out the primes based on, so print out the ones that are true. So we're going to go through this range. We're going to go through the is P and print if is P I, if that's equal to true, then print I. All right, so when you have this complete, I have mine complete. This is the primes up to 200. The algorithm that we're doing here is called the sieve of Eratosthenes. I think I have that in here somewhere. Yeah, which is not, it's just somebody who came up with the idea or somebody who wrote about it. All right, so it's practice with us making some functions and using some loops. Yeah, so that's, and it's primes. We've looked at primes already. All right, so then the last one is birthdays. All right, so this one has a bunch of to-dos and tests to run. The goal here is answering the question, how many people do you expect before you have 2 with the same birthday? So let's say that you have a line of people and you start letting them into a room as long as they have a different birthday than everybody else in the room. How many people do you think it will take? So I don't want to run my solution because it'll give you the answer. So this is going to guide us through doing a simulation. We're going to pick a bunch of random birthdays. We're going to check to see are any of them the same. But we're going to do it one step at a time. So this function here is just supposed to return a random number between 0 and 364. So that is literally just import random, return random.rand int 0364. Okay, and then if you uncomment this and you run the code, then you'll see something printed, and I have our best friend up here, random.seed7, so we all get the same values. And if you comment that, then you'll get different values each time, but it should be sort of similar. Okay, so first we pick a random birthday. Second, we add a new birthday. So B is going to be a list. So how do we add to a list? So if we do this, then we have a new birthday. If we do this, then we added that birthday to our list. And this code right here, there's kind of a shortcut in Python. If you want to put multiple statements on one line, you can separate them by semicolons. So this is a new list. It's empty. I add a birthday to it. I add another birthday to it. I add another birthday. So I should see B should be a list with 3 numbers. Okay. Now, this is supposed to duplicate. So this is supposed to tell us, is there a duplicate, yes or no? And here is the outline of how I'm suggesting you do that. And here are some lists that you can check. So this one here does have a duplicate. There's a 3 and a 3. There should be duplicate. I'll update the original file to have that in there. So if you call it with something that has a duplicate, then you expect it to say true. If you call it with something that does not, you expect it to say false, if you do it correctly. Alright, and then this one is complete. If you have the other stuff, this is going to, we start with an empty list. If there's not any duplicates, we're going to add a birthday. So birthdays is our list. If there's no duplicates, we add a birthday until we get to a birthday, until we get a duplicate. Eventually we're going to get a duplicate, and then we return the length. So how many people did we have to add until we got a duplicate? Alright, so if you call this once, you'll get some number between at least 2 and at most 365. Right after you get 365, that would be all the days. The next one would have to be a repeat. And if you uncomment this, once you're all done, uncomment this, but wait until you have everything else working first. This will run that test 10 times. So we're going to run it 10 times, and we're going to see how many duplicates, or how many birthdays until we got a duplicate. Alright, so that's that one. So for each of these, you're going to have your Python file, and then you're going to put your answers into your answers file, kind of like homework 4. And the birthdays one is probably the most fun because you maybe have a guess for what you think it's going to turn out to be, and maybe the real answer is going to agree with your guess, or maybe it's not. And then I'll have a kind of cool explanation for explaining why we see the numbers that we do. Alright, and the whole point of this is to practice with functions and loops